Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I'm going to do a little drawing today. What happened was, I have a friend who said that they didn't know how to draw themselves. Now, as I have often said, I do not consider myself to be a great artist, but I do enjoy drawing, and so I thought it would be fun to draw my friend here. And I'm not going to mention their name, but I think this would be fun to do. I don't draw other people that often. One, because I draw in a highly cartoony style. And drawing in a highly cartoony style sometimes doesn't always look so great for people. People can get a little upset if they don't like the way it looks, that kind of thing. But I think this person has a very interesting face, and I think it would be fun to draw them and to send them this picture later and saying, well, if you don't know how to draw yourself, here's a good example. I did actually study caricature drawing for a while, but it's really not particularly my thing. I don't particularly like doing caricatures, but I actually appreciate the form, because there is a real talent to being able to capture the essence of a person in just a few seconds, and that's something that true caricature artists are extremely good at. Now, for any ASMR fans that are looking for a little extra, you might hear my washer going in the background as I've got the evening wash going. So if that helps, then I'm glad. I'm doing my little crosshatch here, where you try to get the line right. I think that's so important. But don't always get that. They have somewhat. I'll bring this hair in just a little bit more. I want to partially obscure the left eye. I'm looking at the shape of the eye, and it's a very classic. They have a very classic shape, which I think of as kind of almost like an anime eye kind of thing. But I want to make sure I don't make it look too severe. But it's a pretty classic shape of the eye. Probably should make it just a slightly larger to exaggerate it. I think that would be good. Just break that up a little bit. Yeah, a little bit bigger. Don't worry, by the way, if you can't see too much right now, because that, well, one, it's normal, but also I'm going to be coloring this and inking it in. So very slight smile line there. There's nothing wrong with having a smile line, is there? If you're going to have a line, have it because of smile. And they have a really nice lip shape here at the bottom that I want to try to capture. I have to say, they've almost got like a Mona Lisa kind of thing going. Got a little chain on there. I'm going to put that on. And they've got kind of a funny hat on. It's kind of an animal hat, so I'm just going to work that into the drawing and maybe even exaggerate it a little bit before I get done. And they've got, they currently have blue hair, so I'm going to try to get that blue hair in there. Now, what I really want to do is get these eyes in good shape. I may need to rework them a little bit. But that's pretty much the shape that I'm looking for. Eyes are so important when you're drawing a person. I'm not really wearing much makeup. I do not. One thing I really want to capture, I don't have right now, is they have a very interesting chin. I really like it. I don't want to make it too severe, but they have a very interesting chin. They've in this picture, it's actually just the right angle so that the ears are missing. So that's one less thing I have to draw. If you are wondering what the heck that thing is in the foreground, that is actually my our jadeite salt and pepper shakers. Got those right there. Got those off eBay, I believe. My wife was a very big fan of those. So I need to make sure I do not mess them up. So I just want to kind of add a little bit of eyelash here. I don't want to go crazy with it, because it's not like they have severe eyelashes. But I just want to add a little bit there, a little bit there. And I haven't quite captured the eyes in the position that I wanted, so instead, because in the actual photograph they're looking right at the camera, but I'm gonna work with my mistake, as we might say, and have them looking a little off to the side here. Just gonna kind of add a little background for contrast, real simple, nothing fancy, but just to give it a little contrast. I like it. There's a little bit going on in the background. It's not just, really didn't quite get these. It looks like they've got a kind of a partial shirt. Need a narrow. I fortunately remembered my eraser, because this pencil is completely out. Completely out. I need to narrow those arms just a little bit. They do not have giant arms by any means. There we go. I'm actually pretty happy with how this pencil is going. Sometimes you get to this point and you just want to burn it all. But really haven't gotten to that point. Now, as I've done in the past, a lot of times I use technical pens for this sort of thing, but I'm just going to really gently ink in the outline. And I'm not going to try to do a full ink, because I'm going to use both pastel markers, and I'm going to use some of my daughter's amazing Copic markers, but I'm not going to use those too much. One, because I don't want to use up her Copic markers, and also because it'd be kind of a waste when I put the pastels in. I just want to get, when you're doing a cartoon, there are of course amazing artists who are able to work without a outline, but I have found that just doesn't work as well for me. I really, the kind of person who just really more prefers an outline. There we go. Whoop. The thing you have to remember about outlines is they don't really exist. Outlines don't really exist. They only exist in cartoons. Really, the only black line that humans tend to have is maybe in the lips. There's a little bit of darkness when a mouth is partially open. But normally humans aren't actually surrounded by black lines. So this is really a conceit that we have all kind of agreed to. I'm just going to leave her a necklace there. I really kind of want to get those eyelashes in black. Just real small like that. Most people really like being drawn, but it's also it's a very vulnerable place, because it's someone else saying to you, this is what you look like. And, they may not be such a big fan of that. All right, now I'm going to pull out, I've actually got two different sets here of pastels that I'm going to pull out. And we're going to see what we can do. What I would really like is if I can get a good skin tone, because I do not want to overwhelm this person. They've got, Caucasian skin. And they're pretty lightly colored. I'll use my little scratch paper here. Okay, this is pretty light. As I always try to do, the original one, there's a little highlight on the cheeks. And I kind of want to work just slightly with a darker, see how this one is. Let me try. Slightly darker tone, yeah. But I don't want to go crazy with it. But I just want to work in a little bit darker tone here and around the neck. Now, normally, if I was doing my classic cartoons, I would actually have erased the pencils, and I will suffer for that slightly because it will smudge as I'm drawing this in. However, this drawing does not, it's okay. It's okay if the pencils smudge in there a little bit. I'm just going to work in a little bit of skin tone here. Really don't want to go crazy with it because otherwise it looks just not great. Not great at all. I want to leave a lot of open whiteness, especially the nose is very illuminated, so I maybe just want to work a little, just a tiny little for definition on the nose, maybe like underneath, just a tiny little touch. And their lips are very subtle, so I don't want to use like a dark red because it's not gonna give me what I want. Let me dig through. Looks like there might be some really light pinks here. Like this rose. This one's called Blush, so this one's called Pink Rose. Let me see, that one is pretty darn light. I've got a slightly darker here. Just gonna try to work that in. But there's a little bit of highlight. So I'm gonna try to work that in without, I'm not entirely happy with that, but you know what, you do what you can. Do what you can. Problem is that you don't want lips to look drawn in. Let's see, looks like they have green eyes. So I'm gonna see if I can just get a tiny touch of green around the edges here. I don't want to go nuts. Might be hazel. Really don't want to go nuts. Good, good, good. And as I said, they have blue hair. I want to have some fun with this blue hair. I don't want it to be just one uniform color. I kind of want to work in a little bit. Theirs is actually fairly uniform, but I want to have a little bit of fun with it and just kind of work in a little bit of variation with the blues because I've got several blues I can work with. So I kind of want to get a little bit darker on the edges, work that in there. Yeah. Hopefully this will be a nice surprise. If it's not, then I might fail to mention it to you. Now, some people might be asking, will you draw me? And I have a very clear answer for that, which is maybe. If you ask me, I might. I also might not. And I don't mean that as anything punitive. It's just that I do a lot of different one of these, and sometimes I want to work on a thing, and sometimes I don't. I don't mean anything personal against you, but if you do want me to draw you, what you can do is you can email me. It's mrcorley@gmail.com, mrcorley@gmail.com, Corley. And you can say, hey, I would like you to draw me, and you can send a picture. Obviously a appropriate picture, people. Thank you. I want to work a little more ink into the eye here because I want a little more definition in the eye. Just not too much. Again, I really don't want to go nuts with this, but it's just be nice if I had a little more definition in the eye. Just going to work a little bit more in here to kind of cover up that I put a little bit extra in here than I had intended. But what are you going to do? You just got to work with your mistakes. That is disappointing, but it's okay. We keep going. Keep going. But I'm not going to put any more ink on the head like that. What I'd like to do, now the shirt that they're wearing is black, and as I've mentioned before, if you just do full black, you end up with it's basically a blob. I don't want to do that. So I'm adding a purposely put in some spots where to imply where the light is kind of shining on the black, and kind of work it in there. There we go. And I try to leave a little white on the areas where the light would naturally be touching it, and it's also the skin here. So I'm just going to work that skin in pretty solid. I'm not going to do too much with that, but work that in there. Work that in there. Good. And I think what this calls for is a little bit of gray in the middle, just to kind of give it a little bit more texture without too much. And they're wearing a necklace, which is silver, and I'm not quite sure how to proceed with that. I'm going to try this gray, see how it looks. Just kind of do a real gentle in and out. See if I can get a necklacey kind of feel. If I can't, I may augment it slightly with, I'm just going to add a little gray under the neck here just for shadow purposes. Well, that actually looks pretty good. I like that. I like that. A little bit of shadow there. Very nice. And maybe just add a little bit of ink in a few places here to imply that necklace. Okay, good. Shadow this in here. The hair is underneath. Maybe add a little bit of shadow on these as well. Very good. Very good. Nice. And maybe a little bit more black. We'll leave the white reflection there. A little bit more black. Perfect. I'm just going to put a tiny bit more ink in here because I'm about to color that in. These parts of the ear of the hat are white. I'll probably leave them that way, but I'm going to try to just work in some orange because it's an orange hat. I think it's supposed to be vaguely foxish. Not sure exactly. I'm just really working with one color right now, but what I'd like to do is take an almost red, kind of work in some of the edges, give it a little contrast so it's not just one color. There we go. Kind of along the edges. There we go. Very nice, very nice. Okay. Yeah, those ears are a little more white than I would like, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit cross-hatching to those ears to give them a little depth. Nothing crazy, just a little bit on the edges to imply where there might be a little bit of depth, a little bit of darkness in the ear shape. But I don't want to go crazy with it because I want to leave it mostly white. Just too much white, I'm not the biggest fan. Let's see here. You know, they have a little mole right here, and I'm just going to go boop, boop. I'm going to rub that out mostly, but kind of leave it right there. Ooh, got a little blue in there too. You won't tell, will you? Okay, good. And for the background, now this is super important for the background. It is so important to use a super light color because I do not want the background to overpower the foreground. But what I like to do with backgrounds like this is I like to add a little texture. I don't always do that, but you've probably seen me do this if you watch some of my other videos. And so like this. This is called stippling. And I try not to go too crazy with it, but I like to kind of put it back there just to give a little. It's more than anything, I just want to separate the reality. I want to say this is this and that is that. I don't want them to all be the same. I'm just going to add a little defined ink here in the background. It's going to be a little off, but that's okay. We're not freaking out about coverage or this sort of thing. A little bit there, kind of smooth that in. Now for the back, I do want to use something a little darker, but I don't want it to interfere with this hat. And that's orange, which means I probably can get away with a green if I do it lightly. Try a real light stripe the back here. Apply like a paneling, something like that. Just real light. I'm going to work that in first. And then I'm going to come back through with something else. There we go. There we go. A couple of things that I'm going to need to do here before I wrap up. Here's a darker one I can use for that background. Again, I don't want to overpower it. Just want to add a little bit here. A little bit to imply there's a little bit of a shadow there. A little bit of a shadow. Maybe work it into the corners here a little bit. Now what I don't want to do is put any stippling up here. I want to leave the stippling only on the bottom because I want to imply that as well. Now, I would like to add a little rose to their cheeks, but I don't want it to look like the kind of rose you have on like a rag doll. I don't want it to, that would look bad. So what I'm going to do, just want to rub that in a little bit because that's all gotten crazy down there. I'm going to just put some pink on here. I'm going to take my finger. I'm just going to gently dab on that. I'm just going to try to work a little blush in the cheeks. A little blush in the cheeks. Nothing crazy. I may have to go a little heavier for that for it to show up. A little more texture in there. There we go. Kind of try to rub that in. This is where my penciling can kind of come back and bite me a little bit. But I do not want to do more than that. Okay, well this is it's a little messier than I would normally want. I would normally want a professional-ish drawing to be a little more clean. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm fairly happy with the face shape. I'm fairly happy with the eyes. And what I'm going to do, if I can keep my camera from going crazy, gently lift it, hold it over like this, so that you can see the drawing properly. I hope you like it. I hope you've enjoyed watching me draw it. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.